So much of the talk these days is about the enormous rise of Twitter and Facebook, the two leading social media destinations. But the far greater story is the huge impact new media is having on traditional media. It's transforming them in ways one could not have imagined. What incorporates traditional media exactly? And how do we put in a nutshell a multitudinous term such as new media? Traditional media, or more generally referred to as old media, are tools used to broadcast information before the arrival of new media channels. New media is an all-inclusive term for any form of communication made possible from proliferations in information technologies. New media includes information spread through websites, online communities, blogs, social networking portals, and portable storage media. Examples of traditional media are printed publications, radio networks, and television broadcasts. There has been a shift in consumer interests from exclusively procuring news and current information from the traditional media sources and supplementing these with new media sources like the internet, as it is more up-to-date and steadfast. To get an in-depth view on this matter, I interviewed a few individuals from the field of media. Excerpts from the interview.
The tension will be there between each mediums, traditional versus new media. The traditional media, of course, has this tendency of wanting to provide all the information, all the data with all the necessary facts. New media can complement traditional media. However, with new media, there are individuals who can just go out on the streets and just capture every moment, any moments, and can just write anything and then post it online.
You take traditional media alone, there's no tension there. The only tension is the journalists going through all kinds of tensions. But in new media, the tension is there because people in new media tend to manipulate new media. Okay? And because of that, and because of the fact that people who post news or information in new media are very often anonymous, tension is really created.
The pros for traditional media is here, you have a reputation to keep. With traditional media, you know who's writing what, and with Straits Times, Today, and my paper, we know who's writing what, and most of the information are very balanced and fair.
The good thing about traditional media, newspapers, television, it's, I think, more believable because people are accountable. You see, there's gatekeeping in newspapers, television, radio. Okay? There is gatekeeping to a certain extent in new media, but I think it's terribly lacking.
There is a lower risk of rumors and incorrect news being spread through traditional media. The con of traditional media is it's not convenient. Like people like me, I wouldn't want to flip a newspaper in the bus. I would rather take my iPhone and start scrolling and reading the news on my iPhone on Straits Times.
Great advantage of new media is that more and more young people have begun to use new media and the gadgets that go with it. So if you want to really capture the younger people, you've got to go to new media.
It's global, You can catch CinemaSN worldwide. You can catch the Straits Times worldwide. New York Times can be read in Singapore.
But the new media, lacks credibility to a large extent.
It's purely entertainment, which is its lowest form of value, but it's still as important. I feel when too much of it has been exposed to the public, the readers, the viewers, the listeners, there could be a contaminations in the way they think.
Social networking sites, they can spread rumors, and new media at times they have like other sites, other sites to like pornography sites and everything, which is not very good of exposure to younger children. And of course, when you go on to YouTube, and you can just, it can be a random word. You might not mean it in a certain way, you can type a random word and there are like videos, explicit videos coming out, you know. So I would say the exposure is great, that at times it is beyond the limit.
Of course, traditional media is more credible. I think the reporters, the journalists, they are binded by ethics, they are binded by codes as well, and they are professional enough to know what they need to do. With new media, I feel that it's still a long way to go for them to basically, know what is important for the people.
I would think that both medias are credible.
Well, if you ask for my preference, I like traditional media because it's maybe easier to use. Okay, you pick up a newspaper, read, or watch TV, or listen to radio, you get the information. But for ease of reference and things like that, definitely the new media is also preferable and is catching on.
I interviewed the masses as well on their choices between traditional media and new media. Here are a few snippets.
I think new media.
New media.
New media, like if it's on the, cause we can get it on our handphones and stuff, so it's more convenient to view.
I prefer new media also, so cause like it's more instant and then it's more like easier, like it's available everywhere.
I prefer the new media.
Traditional media because there's a greater sense of reliability and credibility in the source.
I prefer traditional because, you know, newspaper, you can keep newspaper or magazine for long, but if you have like the new media, Twitter, Facebook, people can just, you know, make story, rumors, everything. Yeah, and even though I was born in the new era, the 90s, I still prefer the old media because, you know, you can keep it and it lasts long.
I'd have to say I like new media.
I guess traditional media is more reliable, of course.
I new media because it is very accessible on your phones, on your comms, everything, and then it helps you to keep really like integrated with the whole society, knowing what's happening all the time.
New media. Prefer new media because it's a lot easier to see things and find out about events and things. And since so many people are on Facebook and Twitter and etc., I think for me personally, new media will be a lot easier to find out things.
I prefer new media more than the traditional one because it's more convenient and it's more it's like closer to our lives.
Well, I like both media, but I'm thinking if I ever read a newspaper, I prefer traditional media because I like the feel of the pages. But and yeah, books I also prefer traditional. But I can see the advantage of the more modern media because it's really quick and easy to use and it's not cumbersome, you don't have to carry it around with you. So both have its advantages, but I probably would prefer traditional if anything.
I prefer both forms of media.
Both forms of media.
Instead of asking who will win, why not ask this? Why can't traditional media and new media collaborate? Whether traditional media likes it or not, people are getting their news in new ways. The traditional media does need to move speedier. Ask the newspaper editors and they will tell you the newsroom needs to be moving faster to get news out. Old media needs new media for countless reasons, not the least of which being that publics are gradually turning to new media channels solely to get their news. In the meantime, new media needs old media. Gossips and rumors on social networking sites such as Twitter, Facebook may run rampant, but traditional media shows efficiency in doing heavy lifting when it comes to validating information. Some new media channels are good at that too, but this is definitely the traditional media's strength. There's no reason for this to be a battle if old media is in the new media world and doing it right. The two can live together amicably.